Hey guys, Balkan Architect here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the rarest of breeds. I'm going to be talking about Starchitects. Now, Wikipedia describes Starchitects as just a word that's used to describe an architect whose celebrity and critical acclaim have transformed them into an idol of the architecture world and maybe, just maybe, giving them some fame in general public. But I really want to go deeper. I want to figure out what does it take for an architect to become a Starchitect. But first, let's mention the history of fame of architects. So it's not all that uncommon or new to give celebrity status to architects, but this has significantly evolved over time. So the first time any artist got recognition or some sort of fame, architects included, was during the Renaissance. But until modern era, these architects were usually working under a patron, usually church or state. And the first time that the actual fame was kind of acknowledged in an architect was in a work by architect Giorgio Vasari's monologue, and no, I'm not going to try to basically pronounce this, but it basically means the lives of most excellent painters, sculptors, and architects. And what's important about this piece of work, or this writing, is that it gave some sort of a celebrity acclaim to architects without actually having to see their work. Over the years, architects essentially remained servants to their clients, and even though Romanticism and Modernism kind of encouraged individualism within other arts, architects were more geared towards engineering and developing some more comfortable ways of living and living spaces, as well as some new building typologies. Only a select few of architects were capable of going kind of a step above that, and one of the most iconic architects of that period was, of course, the famous Le Corbusier. Now, these few men that were able to go a step beyond regular architecture, they were able to theorize about how architecture should have a role in the development of society. And today, well, every architecture student that doesn't know that a house needs a gutter is mostly concerned with architecture as means of development of society. So I have mentioned this architecture celebrity status, but what does it mean to be a Starchitect? And I make a very important distinction between a famous architect and a Starchitect. So for me, a Starchitect is an architect with perfect branding. So what does that mean? Well, to understand this, let's look at industrial design, for example, as branding is very important over there. So let's look at BMW, for example. When you look at their lineup of cars, all of them look the same, and from an architect's perspective, this might be considered low effort. But from a branding standpoint, this is a masterpiece. Basically, having recognizable shapes is the essence of branding. So having kind of different shapes that all look the same, that's what you're looking for. So how does this tie up into architecture? Well, I'm certain that you've heard some big architect talk about their style, their philosophy, their sensibility, whatever the hell that is. Basically something that is in all of their projects and that always stays the same. Basically something that makes their projects theirs. And Starchitects? Well, you don't really have to look closely. You should be able to see their style from space. It's loud, proud, and in some cases, a bit stupid. So, I don't consider famous architects or well-known architects to be Starchitects. Starchitects are the rock stars of the industry. They unapologetically place their style above all else. And that's hard. I've mentioned cars a bit earlier, and cars are easy. Cars are all the same. Yes, some are bigger, some are smaller, but generally they kind of stay the same shape. And architecture is always different. Every site is different, every room is different, every space is a bit different. Every project is starting from scratch, so being able to keep a consistent styling throughout all of your projects, now that is something deserving of praise. So, who are these Starchitects? Well, this is what Wikipedia will tell you, but I have a much shorter list. So for me, these three architects kind of deserve the Starchitect status, and they are Daniel Libeskind, Frank Gehry, and the great late Zaha Hadid. Now, there may be more, but for these three, I'm 100% sure. So, how have I came to this conclusion? Well, when you look at work of these people, for example, let's look at Zaha Hadid. The shapes that she creates manage to blend kind of this sharp yet soft edge digital era shapes and kind of create something unique. A unique shape and style that's synonymous with her name. Same stands for Libeskind, and for Frank Gehry, well, every time you see a crumpled piece of paper, you can't help it but think of Frank Gehry. I mean, the man was on the episode of The Simpsons. You can't get more famous than that. So what I'm trying to say is that these people throughout their work managed to trademark a certain shape, a certain style that became synonymous with their names. And that's why I believe and why I reserve a status of a Starchitect for them. And if you think that some other architect deserves this status, tell me in the comment section below who and why. But why should this be important to you, presumably an architect or an architecture student? Well, these people have reached a Nike level of recognition, and that has produced an effect, the Bilbao Effect. Now, this name comes from the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, Spain by Frank Gehry. Now, this building managed to transform a rundown part of town that was in an economic decline into an amazing growth and prestige. So just one building managed to transform this town. So every mayor in the world now wants a Frank Gehry building in their city. Not because Frank Gehry produces some efficient buildings or useful buildings or good buildings. No, he produces Frank Gehry buildings, and that's what's important. They want the style, the prestige that comes with shapes that are synonymous with that name. They want Gehry for Gehry, and that's the point. So you might say that it's a bit unnecessary or inefficient or even ugly, but you know what? It's there, and here and here and there and everywhere. This new type of architecture is here to stay. So how does one become a Starchitect? Well, you kind of need to develop your own style over the years, and then you have to stick with it. And no, of course no one will build it at first, but you know what, you have architectural competitions and you can push your style there, and who knows, maybe one day you'll become the next big Starchitect. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. I thought this would be an interesting topic, and please tell me your opinion in the comment section below. And please subscribe, like and share this video, and I will see you tomorrow.